Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Doxy, and today we are looking at the worst kind of characters in anime. And when I say that, I don't mean specific characters. What I mean is the tropes, the kind that you just can't avoid, the kind that you see in every anime and they're always annoying, but they're still force-fed down your throat. That's what we're looking at today. And I found a video by a lovely creator who's basically having a rant about it and giving his opinion. I want to see if we agree. I want to see if you agree. So that's what we're going to do today. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. I ain't going to BS you with too much talking today. Let's get straight into it. Why is Naruto on my screen?
You usually find at least one character that follows a certain character trope. For those who don't know what a character trope is, it's essentially a trait that is easily recognizable that defines the character. For example, we've all seen character tropes like the chosen one, the mad scientist, the joke.
The normal stuff, yeah.
These character tropes are not created equally. Some are overdone and get stale, some just feel useless, and some are just extremely unlikely. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my least favorite ones, even though a lot of them are my favorite characters.
You have my interest, sir.
Also,
go on.
There won't be manga spoilers, but there will be anime spoilers, so beware. First off, we're going to talk about the pathetic character, but we might as well call these guys
50-50
because they're practically the same thing. There are a couple characters that come to mind when I think about someone who's outright pathetic. Jerry from Rick and Morty,
absolutely.
this bum. These guys are just spineless characters who never really stand up for themselves. They make stupid decisions that make me angry, and they just start whining afterwards. But I really want to highlight one specific bum of a character.
Takamichi, yeah.
I am not hearing anybody out on you don't understand.
No, he's useless.
I have so many words I can use.
He's useless.
But for now, we'll just say he's useless. When season 1 was coming out, I was on the hype train. I was seeing Takamichi getting beat up at first by older students, and I was like, fine.
Maybe he'll get good at some point. Yeah.
Time goes on to get some dubs.
He doesn't. He just gets beaten up for like 45 episodes. It's mad.
I was clearly wrong. A majority of the time, this guy's just getting his face broken in. But you know, not every MC needs to be a fighter. We need to have ooga booga, me punch hard every single time. Lelouch's a great example of that. He uses his intelligence to win many battles in the series. Unfortunately, Takamichi isn't even that smart.
Dumb as hell.
I feel like with his ability to travel back 12 years into the past, he should be able to get more things done. And nobody better tell me that it's a realistic depiction. If you have the ability to go back 12 years with your knowledge now, you're telling me that you'd mess it up as bad as Takamichi? For example, he knows he can't fight, so he should have been armed himself. I know they consider it dirty, but you already decided to become a delinquent. If people are willing to murk others over some territory beef,
you might as well have a fight. Yeah.
Middle schoolers who are capable of knocking out people with a single kick while carrying someone else on that same leg. This should be your note to start learning how to box. He also tries to fix things in the past, but ends up failing so many times. He knows that Baji getting packed is the reason why Mikey starts to spiral down. So his bright idea is to hold Baji's waist. And guess what? Baji gets stabbed because he couldn't protect himself. There are way more instances of him just failing to make things better because of his own incompetence, but to be honest, I just don't feel like going through them. Also, this bozo can see that his living conditions are not the best in the future. Like, look at his room. So maybe instead of just falling face first trying to save your middle school girlfriend, you can get out of the gang life and focus on school. But I think the worst part about this guy is the fact that all he does is just cry. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with crying, but it's literally all he does. People say Deku cried too much, but
I was about to say that. I was about to say the problem I have with this and why I said I was 50-50 at the start is I do not mind a pathetic character that eventually gets good. So like if they're a whiny little douche canoe at the start, but then kind of get cooler as it goes along, I don't mind that too much as long as it builds to something. Takamichi don't build to nothing. He just cries and he's as useless in episode 1 as he is in episode whatever. He's just useless. Deku is a prime example of this because this is where I contradict myself a little bit. I do not like Deku. Deku. I do not like Deku in the slightest because he is a whiny little prick. And yes, I can hear the comments now saying, oh, but he gets really good at some point. Meh, he gets alright at some point, and then he gets useless again towards the end. He is a whiny person. Even when he's cool, he's whiny. And that's what I don't like. So yes, 50-50 on patheticness, because as long as they get good, I'm good with it. But the characters, that their whole personality is just, I'm so sad, I'm so hard done by, I'm going to cry now and then get beaten up. It's tiresome, man. It's so tiresome.
Takamichi's nickname is Crybaby Hero. If he's not getting beat up, he's crying.
True.
How can I take this guy seriously, especially since he's the main character? This guy was the main reason why I stopped watching after season 1.
I also stopped watching after season 1.
The MC get beaten to a pulp every single episode just to make a dumb decision to cry about later. Any character like this in the show already gets my blood boiling. So when it's the MC who's acting like this, it's just amplified. Like, I'm low-key getting heated just talking about him. Let me move on. Next up, we got the strong character, and not just
I agree with this one.
Top 10 strongest in the verse. I'm talking about a character who's portrayed to be top 1 or almost top 1 in their series, with overpowered abilities that basically no one can match. My views on this trope can vary depending on whether the main character or a side character is unbelievably broken. And I know you may be thinking, what's your problem with it? Let me cook real quick. I want to focus on a side character being the strongest or practically the strongest in their series because I feel like they tend to have a lot of the problems I have with this trope. When we see a character like Gojo or Yamamoto, we see them with such absurd abilities that no one can rival besides the main antagonist. And side note, in 1000 Year Blood War, it's clear that Yamamoto actually isn't the strongest, but prior to the war arc, he was portrayed to be up there in strength. However, problems arise because of their strength. When you write such a strong character that's not your MC, you can't just leave them in the story because they can just solve any conflict themselves. Aizen knew that Yamamoto probably could have beaten him before he fused with the Hogyoku if he decided to just go all out and burn everyone there from the start. Fake Ghetto knew that a single red from Gojo will rearrange his guts thoroughly. Maybe I'm just salty because a lot of these characters like Yamamoto or Gojo tend to be my favorites in the show. Like when Yamamoto said, one of my favorite
that resonate with your soul.
These characters a lot, you notice a pattern or at least a certain trend. Either the villain has some sort of backup plan to incapacitate said strong character, like Wonderwise or the Prison Realm. They get horrifically nerfed or nerfed in some type of way, or they get written off in a way that seems a bit scuffed. Now I know I said I'm mainly focusing on the side characters who are extremely strong, but an antagonist like Madara is a good example of what happens to overpowered characters. It was made quite clear who was the top guy during the war arc, and that guy was Madara. He was embarrassing all 5 Kages with ease, and then they gave him a 10 tails power up on top of that. He was so
unnecessary.
that even the author Kishimoto jokingly mentioned that he may have made Madara too strong.
Slightly.
That's likely the reason why he got Black Zetsu. So unless the MC is showing insane progress and just power clips the strongest character, you always know that the strongest character is probably gonna have to get shelved for a little bit. The trope doesn't remove how much I enjoy the character. Yamamoto, Madara, Gojo, they'll always be goats in my heart. But having that looming feeling knowing that one of your favorites has to be nerfed or shelved to allow the story to have some sort of conflict can be a bit annoying.
He is right though, because this is kind of my issue with it as well. Like, I love Gojo as a character. I'm going to use Gojo because I've seen a lot of Kaizen. Gojo is cool as hell. His powers are cool as hell, but he can fix 99% of issues. So therefore, it makes every main character or every character around him look pointless. So either you, as he said, nerf them, or you make the main character kind of amplify it even more, but then you're just piling absurdity on top of more absurdity, and it just keeps getting more absurd. And yes, I know anime is always going to be absurd, but there's a line where it gets a bit too much and it gets a bit like over the top. And I think having the strongest as a side character or even a main character, it elevates everything too much. It doesn't elevate the story, it just elevates the nonsensicalness of it, and I am not a huge fan of that either. Like the characters, hate the concept.
Next up,
SpongeBob.
The pervy.
Okay, fair play.
Anime have had this.
I got a lot to say here.
Extent of the trope, it can be fine, but some of these characters just start acting like pure degenerates and do nothing else in the story. And let me be honest with y'all real quick. It's hard being a Sanji.
You leave Sanji out of this.
You know, I already got to listen to Zoro fans chatting about Sanji being 4th on the list, saying that he's worse than Zoro. And you know, I can typically sleep well at night knowing that Sanji is still one of the best written characters in terms of development and backstory. Then someone reminds me of Fishman Island, and every good thing I was just thinking about gets eviscerated instantly. Being written out of the story because you were that excited is ridiculous. Your nose was really bleeding that much because of some mermaids. If Fishman Island was getting released in 2023, the amount of slander Sanji fans would go through would be outrageous. They might just get ostracized from the community, who knows? To be honest, any scene when Sanji is just simping over Nami or Robin can get a bit extra.
It don't bother me that much.
The chivalry aspect of his character, but when every 5 seconds Sanji has hard eyes and panting like a dog because he saw a woman, you can start to understand why this trope is so unpopular. I guess Oda had to nerf his character somehow. I feel like there's low-key a spectrum when it comes to these types of characters. On the lower end, you got someone like Toto, who's not even really a pervy character. He just be asking you about your type of woman.
True, he has an interest.
That's not even his main thing for you. Then there are the classy old pervy guys like Roshi or Jiraiya, and I won't lie, Roshi was low-key bugging out.
Yeah, Roshi bad. No.
But do / say some questionable things as comic relief.
106 centimeters.
On the
That's
extreme
good.
side, we have someone like Mineta, and I don't even hate this character like other people do. He's just extremely weird. These are the type of guys getting walked like dogs in real life and enjoying it. I feel like the only way this type of character can actually quote unquote work is if it's purely comic relief and it doesn't turn into criminal activity or take away from the actual character.
Okay, so this is where I come in now, because I do actually have quite a lot to say on this topic. Number one being, I do actually agree with him. There is a spectrum when it comes to characters like this, and there's definitely a line where it becomes too far. Roshi, for instance, is in a very weird spot, because 70-80% of what he does is just at a distance seeing a pretty woman or something he likes, nosebleed, you know, the cliche. The problem is the other 20% is way over that line and he gets a bit touchy-feely. Don't do that. I agree. So being in the middle section of that spectrum makes complete sense. What I disagree with is that they mention Sanji here purely because of Fishman Island. And I get what he's saying. I agree what he's saying. Like, Sanji was in another level of being obsessed with mermaids. But Sanji has one key thing to his character that a lot of other people don't have. Roshi also has this point. They can fight. So Sanji may be a pervert, he may be a simp, he may be whatever word you want to call him, but he has other elements to his character. He can fight, he can do this, he can cook. That's kind of... It doesn't make a full circle, but there's more to him. Mineta, going to the My Hero section, has nothing to him. He throws sticky grapes at you and he talks about boobs. That's it. There is nothing else to him. He's just a degenerate character. So I think putting people like Roshi and Sanji, who are fighters, in with someone like Mineta is a really weird comparison. And I promise this isn't just me hating on My Hero, because I know I mentioned them earlier for the Crybaby thing as well. They're just very good examples of characters that don't have a lot more to their character than that kind of trope. So, yeah.
This last one I want to cover real quick is something we're all familiar with.
Go on.
It's this guy.
It's all the same character. Yeah. It's so frustrating.
I felt like every year these black-haired MCs kept popping up. As soon as you see a character look like this, you know it's probably some generic isekai. If you see the main character look like this, I advise you to turn away because you're about to... It's
gonna be terrible.
I don't want to hear any ifs, ands, or buts. This is an MC and you just decide to give him one of the most generic faces of all time. The face is starting to get a bit frustrating too because I see it so much. Like, at least make his hair red or something.
I agree wholeheartedly. I don't know what's happened in the last few years, but like every single show seems to have just random black-haired main character, looks exactly the same, generic, cut and paste from another show, and it's just getting so old. Like, I spoke about this in a recent video, I'll put it up here somewhere, that like 90s anime was just dramatically better than modern anime, and I got a lot of like crap for it because people were like, oh, you know, it looks so much better now. Does it? Does it look better now? Like, cool, okay, animation's improved, it looks beautiful in that sense, but every main character now looks exactly the same. They didn't in the 90s, you could tell them apart. Now, everything's the same, it's just one generic cut and paste from another to another to another. It infuriates the crap out of me. And I'm sick and tired of it, and it's what puts me off anime sometimes, because it doesn't need to be like a thing. Make it unique. That's what I like about anime. I don't need the same thing in every show. That would be boring. If I had that, I'd just watch the original show and skip the middleman and forget everything after it, you know? But honestly, I found that very, very fascinating because I do actually agree with the majority of what he said. Maybe not so much the whole useless characters thing, because like I said earlier, if it's done correctly, it's done well, and there's definite growth, then it can be really, really effective. But if we're just talking useless at point A, useless at point B, then yeah, I totally agree. It's annoying as all hell. Release them from the show, cut them out, the show wouldn't suffer at all, and that's just my opinion. But what really matters to me is what you guys think. Do you agree with this list? Are these the worst tropes in anime? And if you don't agree, then be a dear. Let me know in the comments what you think is the worst trope, and we'll have a little chat about it. But until next time, I've been Doxy. You've been beautiful. Thank you for giving me 10 minutes of your day. I'll see you next time for more anime content. Bye-bye.